The devolution of the states would be to the order of 5.24 lakh crores in 15-16, as against a devolution of 3.38 lakh crores as per the revised estimates of 14-15. Another 3.04 lakh crores would be transferred by way of grants, plans and transfers. Thus, the total transfer to the states will be about 62% of the total receipts of the country. अगर केंद्र और राज्यों का टैक्स रेवेन्यू जोड़ लिया जाए तो अब 62% राज्यों के पास होगा, 38% केंद्र के पास होगा. In spite of the consequential reduced fiscal space for the centre, the government has decided to continue to supporting important national priorities such as agriculture, education, health, Manrega, rural infrastructure, including roads program targeted for the poor and underprivileged, which will be all continued by us. With the fiscal space not just reduced but squeezed, I have to meet the fifth challenge of maintaining the fiscal discipline. Economic growth this year at 11.5% is lower in nominal terms by about 2% due to lower inflation. Consequently, tax buoyancy was also significantly lower. Despite this, Madam, I have kept my word and will meet the challenging fiscal target of 4.1% of the GDP, which we had inherited. Madam Speaker, I need to overcome these challenges to reduce and eliminate poverty. I want to underscore that my government still remains firm on achieving the medium-term target of 3% of the GDP. This is the fiscal target. But the journey has to take into account the need for increasing public investment. The total additional public investment over and above the RE is planned at rupees 1.25 lakh crores, of which rupees 70,000 crore would be the capital expenditure from the budgetary outlays. We have to take into account the drastically reduced fiscal space, uncertainties in the implementation of the GST will create, and the likely burden of the report of the 7th Pay Commission. Rushing into or insisting on a preset timetable for fiscal consolidation pro-cyclically would, in my opinion, not be pro-growth. With economy improving, the pressure for accelerated fiscal consolidation too has decreased. In these circumstances, I will complete the journey to a fiscal deficit of 3% in 3 years rather than 2 years as envisaged previously. Thus, the next 3 years, my targets are 3.9% for 15-16, 3.5% for 16-17, and 3% for 17-18. The additional fiscal space will go towards funding infrastructure investment. I will be moving amendments accordingly in the Finance Bill to the FRBM Act. Madam Speaker, I want to round up the discussion on fiscal roadmap in an optimistic tone. While there is a compositional shift, the aggregate envelope for job creation, poverty elimination, and building infrastructure is not disturbed. In fact, it goes up this year and every subsequent year in the same proportion as tax revenues of the Union and the state governments increase. From this national perspective of public finances, not only is the path of fiscal consolidation on track, aggregate annual capital expenditure of the government as a whole can be expected to rise significantly by more than 0.5% of the GDP.
Yes, आप अगर बैठ के भी ये करना चाहे तो you can.
Thank you, Madam.
Yeah.
As I need it, I'll certainly request you, Madam.
Okay.
Thank you. Aapka dhanyavad. Madam Speaker, it may be noted that the budget reflects considerable scaling up of the disinvestment figures. This will include both disinvestment in loss-making units and some strategic disinvestments. Madam Speaker, this government is committed in its resolve as Indians to regain our preeminence as just and compassionate society. Well-intentioned schemes introduced in the past have often been ill-targeted, riddled with leakages, and delivered with inefficiency. The same is true of subsidies. Subsidies are needed for the poor and those less well off. What we need is a well-targeted system of subsidy delivery. We need to cut subsidy leakage, not subsidies themselves. We are committed to the process of rationalizing subsidies based on this approach. We have embarked on that path. The direct transfer of benefits, started mostly in scholarship schemes, will be further expanded with a view to increasing the number of beneficiaries from the present 1 crore to 10.3 crores. Similarly, rupees 6,335 crore has so far been transferred directly as LPG subsidy to 11.5 crore LPG customers. I am sure these persons who are better off, such as the top tax bracket, and those who are generally concerned with the poor and the welfare of the poor, such as members of this House, will give up their LPG subsidy voluntarily. I'll continue.
Yes, you can.
Our commitment to farmers runs deep. We have already taken major steps to address two major factors critical to the agricultural production: soil and water. An ambitious soil health card has been launched to improve the soil fertility on a sustainable basis. In order to improve soil health, I propose to support Agricultural Ministry's organic farm scheme, Paramparagagat Krishi Vikas Yojana. The Pradhan Mantri Gram Sinchai Yojana is aimed at irrigating the field of every farmer and improving the water usage efficiency to provide per drop more crop. I am allocating rupees 5,300 crores to support micro-irrigation watershed programs and Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana. I urge the states to chip in substantially in this vital sector. To support agriculture sector with the help of effective and hassle-free agricultural credit, with special focus on small and marginal farmers, I propose to allocate rupees 25,000 crores in 15-16 to the corpus of Rural Infrastructure Development Fund set up by NABARD, 15,000 crores for Long-Term Rural Credit Fund, 45,000 crore for Short-Term Cooperative Rural Credit Refinance Fund, and 15,000 crores for Short-Term RRB Refinance Fund. Farm credit underpins the efforts of our hard-working farmers. I have therefore set up an ambitious target of rupees 8.5 lakh crores of credit during the year 15-16, which I am sure the banks will surpass. Our government is committed to supporting employment through Manrega. We will ensure that no one who is poor is left without employment. We will focus on improving the quality and effectiveness of activities under Manrega. I have made an initial allocation of rupees 34,699 crores for this program. While the farmer is no longer in the clutches of the local trader, his produce still does not command the best notional price. To increase incomes of farmers, it is felt that we create a national agricultural market which will have incidental benefit of moderating prices. I intend this year to work in the states in NITI for the creation of a unified national agricultural market. Madam Speaker, our government firmly believes that development has to generate inclusive growth. While large corporate and business entities have a role to play, this has to be complemented by informal sectors, enterprises which generate maximum employment. There are 5 crore 77 lakh small business units, mostly individual proprietorships, which run small manufacturing, trading and business service businesses. 62% of these are owned by SC, STs and OBCs. These bottom of the pyramid hard-working entrepreneurs find it difficult, if not impossible, to access formal systems of credit. I therefore propose to create a micro units development refinance agency, Mudra Bank, with a corpus of 20,000 crores and credit guarantee corpus of 3,000 crores. The Mudra Bank will refinance microfinance institutions through a Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. In lending, priority will be given to SC, ST enterprises. These measures will will greatly increase the confidence of our young, educated or skilled workers who would now be able to become the first generation entrepreneurs. Existing small businesses too will be able to expand their activities. Just as we are banking the unbanked, we are also funding the unfunded. A significant part of the working capital requirement of the MSME arises due to long receivables in the realization cycle. We are in the process of establishing an electronic trade receivable discounting system, financing of trade receivables of MSMEs from corporates to other buyers through multiple financiers. This should improve the liquidity in the MSME sector significantly. Bankruptcy law reform that bring about a legal certainty and speed has been identified as a key priority for improving the ease of doing business. SICA and BIFR have failed to achieve these objectives. We will bring a comprehensive bankruptcy code in the year 2015-16 that will meet global standards and provide for judicial capacity. The government is committed to increase access of the people to formal financial system. In this context, the government proposes to utilize the vast postal network with nearly 1,54,000 points of presence spread across villages of the country. I hope the Postal Department will make its proposed payments bank venture successful so that it contributes to the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. सारे पोस्ट ऑफिसेज इससे बैंकिंग काम के अंदर इन्वॉल्व कर लिए जाएंगे. To bring about parity in regulation of non-banking financial companies with other financial institutions in matters relating to recovery, it is proposed that NBFCs registered with RBI having a size of rupees 500 crores and above will be considered as financial institution in terms of the Sarfasi Act. A large portion of India's population is without insurance of any kind, health, accident or life. Worryingly, our young population ages, it also is going to be pensionless. Encouraged by the success of the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, I propose to work towards creating a universal social security system for all Indians, especially the poor and unprivileged. The soon to be launched Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana will cover accident death risk of rupees 2 lakhs for a premium of just rupees 12 per year. मैडम, 1 रुपया महीना जो जनधन खाते से ट्रांसफर होगा उससे 2 लाख की एक्सीडेंट इंश्योरेंस हर गरीब आदमी को मिलेगी. Similarly, we will also launch the Atal Pension Yojana, which will provide a defined pension depending on the contribution and its period. To encourage people to join this scheme, government will contribute 50% of the beneficiaries' premium, limited to rupees 1,000 each year for the 5 years in its new accounts opened before 31st December 2015. इसकी डिटेल्स आज सार्वजनिक की जाएंगी. हर महीने कोई गरीब आदमी कंट्रीब्यूट करे, उसमें से आधा सरकार देगी और 60 साल की उम्र से उसको पेंशन मिलनी आरंभ होगी. The third social security scheme I wish to announce is the Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, which will cover the natural and accidental death risk of rupees 2 lakhs. The premium will be rupees 330 per year or less than rupee 1 per day for the age group 18 to 50. Madam, there are unclaimed deposits of 3,000 crores in PPF and approximately 6,000 crores in EPF corpus. I have proposed to create a senior citizens welfare fund in the finance bill for appropriation of these amounts to a corpus which will subsidize the premiums of the vulnerable groups such as old age pensioners, BPL cardholders, small and marginal farmers and others. A detailed scheme would be issued in March this year. Madam Speaker, with regard to the needs and the population of senior citizens in the country, which is now approximately 10.5 crores, out of which over 1 crore are above the age of 80, 70% live in rural areas and a large number are in the BPL category. A sizable percentage of them suffer from age-related disabilities. Ours is a society that venerates its elders. I therefore propose a new scheme for providing physical aids and assisted living devices for senior citizens living below the poverty line. In sum, these social security schemes reflect our commitment to utilize the Jan Dhan platform to ensure that no Indian citizen will have to worry about illness, accidents, or penury in old age. Being sensitive to the needs of the poor and underprivileged and the disadvantaged, the government also remains committed to the ongoing welfare schemes of the SCs, STs, and women. Despite serious constraints on union finances, allocations this year have been made as follows. SCs 30,851 crores, STs 19,980 crores, women 79,258 crores. An integrated education and livelihood scheme called Nai Manzil will be launched this year to enable minority youth who do not have formal school leaving certificate to obtain one and find a better employment. Further, to showcase civilizational and culture of the Parsis, the Government of India will support in 2015-16 an exhibition, The Everlasting Flame. The allocation of the Ministry of Minority Affairs is being protected. The BE for the year 2015-16 is 3738 crores. Infrastructure. Madam, this is no secret that the major slippage in the last decade has been on the infrastructure front. Our infrastructure does not match our growth ambitions. There is a pressing need to increase public investment. I have therefore increased outlays on both roads and gross budgetary support to the railways by 14,031 and rupees 10,050 crores respectively. The capex of public sector units is expected to be 3,17,889 crores, an increase of approximately 80,844 crores over last year. In fact, all told, investment in infrastructure will go up by 70,000 crores in the year 15-16 over 14-15 from the Centre's fund and resources of the CPSEs. But madam, we need much more investment than adding 70,000 crores more. Secondly, I intend to establish a national investment and infrastructure fund, which finds monies to ensure an annual flow of 20,000 crores to it. 20,000 is what the government will be giving. This will enable the trust to raise debt in terms, invest as equity in infrastructure finance companies like the IRFC and the NHB. The infrastructure finance companies can then leverage this extra equity many folds. Thirdly, I also intend to permit tax-free infrastructure bonds for projects in rail, road and irrigation. Fourthly, PPP model of infrastructure development has to be revisited and revitalized. The major issue involved in rebalancing of risk in infrastructure projects, the sovereign will have to bear a major part of the risk without, of course, absorbing it entirely. Fifth, I intend to establish in NITI an Atal Innovation Mission. AIM will be an innovation promotion platform involving academics, entrepreneurs, researchers, and draw upon national and international experiences to foster a culture of innovation, R&D and scientific research. The platform will also provide a network of world-class hubs and grand challenges for India. The initial sum of rupees 150 crore will be earmarked for this purpose. India has a well-regarded world-class IT industry with revenues of US 150 billion, over 100 billion exports, employing nearly 40 lakh people directly.